You heard the rest. Now here's the best. Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, back again with this holiday week, with Christmas coming up and everything. Hopefully all you kiddos and kiddo adults have been good this past year. Maybe Santa Claus will hopefully bring you guys some good gifts this year. I'm hoping for some good gifts myself. I'm real big into the Funko dolls, and definitely with Ghostbusters movie coming out, hopefully the wife buys me some of those lovely Funko dolls. And hey, Funko, if you want to sponsor us, I'm all open to it too. So hopefully everybody's weekend was a good weekend. Not so much in the NFL. We had to move 3 games. Actually got to watch the Eagles game last night. So I'm going to be touching on that whole situation about the games being moved because of players testing positive with COVID and things like that. But before we get into the show, like we always do, head over to staytunesports.net so that we can follow all of our social media accounts. We have some games Saturday, so I may actually live tweet during maybe one of the Saturday night games or something like that. Down in the Stay Tuned Sports studio, which me and the wife broke in this past weekend officially. But also, if you want to show your support, you can head over to Wow, I can't talk today. Let's try that again. www.buymeacoffee.com/STSports. Just another way to show your appreciation, which I appreciate you appreciating me. But so this past Friday, if you guys tuned in over on YouTube, 3YTV, was the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. I guess you would say season finale, because the chase starts now. This was the last race before the chase begins, which begins January 7th. The boys are taking a couple weeks off due to the holidays, which rightfully so. I think they deserved it. They've put a hell of a season on up until this point, and I still expect the same product that they put out there each week. I mean, to average 3 to 4 cautions a race, and really there was only one really bad race as far as cautions. I mean, that's pretty good. You gotta tip your hat to them. But this past week they were at Richmond, and just kind of give you a little update just in case you didn't tune in. And you could always go back and rewatch it. Like I said, go over to YouTube on 3YTV, look up the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, and you can see all the races there. Jason Gracias won the poll. Elected not to take the Dr. Mashburn Podcast Challenge, which is if you win the poll for that race, you want to try it, you go to the back of the line and do your best to drive up through the field and get into the top 3 and win a little cash, a little dough. But he elected not to do it, which he could have, because he was already locked in into the chase with a win earlier in the season. But just a dominant performance by him as a truck goes flying by the window here. But just a dominating performance. I mean, he led most of the laps. I would even probably venture out to say 3/4 of the race he led, without even looking at the numbers. And he, obviously he ended up winning the race too, which helps him, in the chase as well. Once you win a race, you're locked in. You win more races during that season leading up to the chase, it's only more bonus points for you leading into the chase itself. As far as our good buddy Matt Cherry, who drove the Stay Tuned Sports truck this past season, unfortunately he needed a win. That was pretty much his only road to getting into the chase. Could not do it. He was pretty good all race. You know, he made up to fourth before just finally tailing off. I don't know if his tires just worn down and he lost speed that way, or just, you know, whatever it was. But just want to real quick give him a quick thanks for running a Stay Tuned Sports truck out there. Definitely made some interesting races out there. Came close a couple times, just could not put it all together to win that one that you need to lock yourself in, get the automatic bid. But thanks to Matt Cherry, like I said. As far as the chase itself, and you know, I know I do this segment every week about the truck series, and I usually do 3 racers to watch. Well, with the chase not starting until January 7th, I'm actually going to hold off on my 3 racers to watch, and I'm going to pick 3 racers to watch for the whole chase. And then, you know, each week maybe give a little update on how they were doing, how's my picks doing, things like that. So, again, they're not going to be racing until January 7th. Keep an eye out on Stay Tuned Sports Twitter and Facebook, because I'll be sharing out the link once they arc back. But you could go back and rewatch the season if you want to. Like I said, YouTube, over on YouTube, 3Y TV. Make sure you subscribe to them. When they do come back, it's Friday nights, 9 p.m. Make sure you guys tune in. We're going to have shows up until, you know, that race, so it's not like I'm not going to tell you when it's coming, but when it gets closer, I'll keep reminding you guys. 3Y TV, over on YouTube, January 7th, Chase for the Championship kicks off. This past weekend, came out in the NFL that a few of the games had to get postponed a couple days. More specifically, the Raiders-Browns game got moved to Monday. Eagles, Washington, Seattle, and the Rams got moved to Tuesday because there was a COVID outbreak amongst a couple of these teams. I'm going to pick on one team here just because it affected my team, the Philadelphia Eagles. At one point, the Washington football team, I believe they said, had 17 players on the COVID list. I know the Rams, I think Sean McVay said that if they were to play the game as scheduled, they would have had a hard time fielding a team. The Browns were hoping to get Baker Mayfield back by pushing off the game, among other players too, and unfortunately did not get him back. So I believe it was Nick Mullins started that game, former Philadelphia Eagle backup. But when it came out these games got moved, the question popped in my head. I thought there was going to be no moving of games. I thought no postponements of games, that if a team cannot field a team because due to COVID players, they will be forced to forfeit the game. And so, you know, I went back and I looked at, quote, the memo that was sent out to all the NFL teams by the NFL. And what the memo said back in July was forfeits were an option if a game cannot be rescheduled, and if the outbreak originated from a unvaccinated player. Now, I believe most of the teams are at least 70-80% vaccinated, according to some of the stats out there. But why would the Eagles? I mean, okay, if this was a game that was supposed to be played in Washington, okay, I could see why Washington would say, "Oh yeah, we got to reschedule it. You know, we're going to lose a lot of money here." If I'm Jeffrey Lurie, you know, and there's two aspects of this that I don't understand. The owners always come out and say, we're worried about player safety. We want to improve the game to improve player safety. Now, Philadelphia Eagles have done a very good job with keeping players off the COVID list. It seems like some of these teams, they're averaging like 3-4 players a week getting added on, whether they're starters or backups, but still. And so the game gets moved, since the game was in Philadelphia, which, again, Jeffrey Lurie. And also in the memo, it does say that the NFL would not be responsible for any financial losses. Players from both teams would not get paid, and the team that had to forfeit the game due to COVID players would endure the financial loss. So if I'm Jeffrey Lurie and I'm worried about all the revenue I'm going to lose if this game gets forfeited, why am I not going after Daniel Snyder? Why not show the players that your players, the Philadelphia Eagle players, that you do care about their safety? And Jeffrey Lurie decided, no, we're going to play this game. So it gets moved to Tuesday last night, because I'm recording right now Wednesday night. Gets moved to Tuesday, 7 o'clock. And guess what else? There's a Flyers game at home at the exact same time. So now, I don't know if Wells Fargo put it out or the Philadelphia City. Most likely Wells Fargo is the one that put this out. Came out and said, any person that does not have a Flyers ticket and prove that they have a Flyers ticket cannot park in the Wells Fargo parking lot. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been to an Eagles game. I've been to hundreds probably throughout my whole life. One Wells Fargo parking lot is the best option out there to park. And I would venture out to say it's probably half the parking for a Philadelphia Eagles game. The only other options were parking in Citizens Bank Park, which they do have that open during Eagles games. The Eagles parking lot, which is not that big. And then, I'm not even sure if they still do it. They used to park down to Naval Yard, which is about 2-3 miles away. So already, this was already going to be a clusterfuck. And if Jeffrey Lurie was worried about losing the revenue from this game, you could have estimated definitely how much money you would have lost and went after the Washington football team. Obviously, the Eagle players were not happy. Darius Slay was one of the more vocal ones that basically said, why are we being punished for another team's mistakes? There's protocols. Every team has their own protocols. I guess maybe Philly has the best ones out there, or our players are more responsible with it. But obviously Washington's team was not responsible with it. So now we play the game. Weird beginning of the game. Yeah, I really thought we were going to lose this game. But, we end up winning the game. We are in, the 8th spot right now. We're just outside of the wild card spot. And now, so you move this game to try to get players back from the COVID list. And then just before I come on to record, Nick Sirianni tested positive for COVID. He has some of the symptoms. So now, and on top of this, before the game, Landon Dixon, our starting right guard, who has been very good with Lane Johnson, is out on the COVID list now. Quiz Watkins, I believe, tested positive on Monday. So you move this game, and now the Eagles start off the week with 2 players and 1 staff member testing positive. Whereas if you just either had the game Sunday or made them forfeit, I'm not saying this is how they I'm not saying that this is how Nick Sirianni contacted it, but maybe at some point after the game, shaking hands, with Ron Rivera or one of the other players that may have been in close contact that just came off the COVID list. Maybe that's how he got it. But if he didn't move the game, he would have never got it. So it just, once again showing that the NFL and the owners don't really have the best interests for safety for these players. And I really thought this past offseason when they sent that memo out, like, okay, we saw last season, not just in the NFL, but in other sports, that players were still going out partying. Kyrie Irving going to a birthday party, a sister's birthday party or whatever, unmasked and this and that. I'm not saying, and let me get this right. I'm not saying shame on you for not getting vaccinated. Hey, that's your opinion. If you want to get vaccinated, cool. If you don't, cool. But the NFL put this rule in place to say, hey, teams, you got to keep your players in check here. And they didn't. And now it's going to affect Philly, because not only our head coach is possibly out, but we're on a 4-day week now to play against the Giants, which is another big game for us for the playoffs. We basically have to win out to make it to the playoffs, okay? Now, Grant, Daniel Jones is out for the season now. But the thing is, last time we played New York, they had our number on offense. Now, hopefully, whoever takes over as head coach, if Sirianni can't clear the protocol, hopefully they realize, listen, we have 7 straight games of 150 yards rushing or more, which has never happened in Philadelphia since, I think they said 1930s. And they've been winning. They've been getting the offense going. And it's helping Jalen Hurts. We cannot start the game off with Hurts passing 20 times. We got to get that running game going. Give our defense some breaks. But being on a 4-day work week, that's bad. I don't have high hopes for this Sunday. I'm actually supposedly going to be at the game. It's a little Christmas gift to my youngest. It'll be his first ever Eagles game. But shame on the NFL for bending the rule, as you would say, just so you could be a little bit more greedier. I know we don't talk a lot about baseball, but I felt like we should bring back one of our segments I haven't done in a couple weeks, our Hot Minute Take on the hiring of Buck Showalter. So the New York Mets this past week hired Buck Showalter to be their next manager, and I like the hiring. If you look at Showalter's resume, he has won divisions, whatever you want to call it, 3 out of 4 teams that he coached for. Coached the Yankees. Like, the Yankees at the time weren't the greatest team. He helped bring them out of the basement. Baltimore was in shambles. Made them competitive. And now he's with the Mets, who have been just atrocious the past few years. The thing I think is going to help him, because the biggest question always about him was, can he win the World Series? And I think with the Mets, he can. Baltimore, he was close. What hurt him there was he had no pitching. And now that he has a team and a general manager that is willing to spend some money, I think he could do it. I think he might win the World Series with the Mets. So that was my hot minute take of Showalter possibly winning the World Series with the Mets. I mean, like I said, just kind of elaborate a little bit more. They signed a couple big free agents. They signed Max Scherzer. They signed center fielder Starling Marte. I can never say his name right. So I mean, they got some good pickups there, and they're definitely in a win now. And I think this is where Showalter will show and can finally win the big one that's been eluding him for all these years. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will have our weekly Blue Picks. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? Is there things interfering with your happiness? Check out BetterHelp.com/listener. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Connect in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not a self-help line. It is professional counseling done securely online. Anything you share is confidential. It's convenient, professional, and affordable. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/listener. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/listener.
Jackson has all day, looking deep for Hollywood Brown again. He's got it. Brown off to the races, and he stays on his feet. Touchdown!
And here is your Blue Picks of the week, brought to you by Skunk Duck Studios, the best ducking designs on the web. So last week was week 15 of the NFL season. So kind of recap how I did last week. I actually did really well. I actually went 3-0, first time probably since early season, if not the first time in the season. Just kind of recap the picks. I took the Bills over to Carolina. Carolina won by 17. I think Carolina was giving like 10. Cam Newton's just, like I say every week, he should. I hope he retires after the season. He wasn't good with the Patriots, and he's still shown he's not the same player he used to be. I mean, he's older. I mean, players get like that. And I just hope he does retire after the season so he doesn't make a total fool out of himself. But sometimes we see the players stick around just way too long. Sometimes teams make that decision for them by not signing them. For the lock, I had the Packers over the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, and this was based off of if Lamar Jackson was going to start or not. If Lamar Jackson didn't start, I think they were going to blow him out. I was very surprised with how well their backup quarterback played, the Ravens quarterback, Huntley. Went toe-to-toe with the Ravens, and I believe they only won by like 4 or 5 points. I really thought if the backup quarterback started, Aaron Rodgers was going to light them up and win by 10 or 15. My upset pick, I had the Raiders winning this one over the Bears or whatever. Granted, it took a last-second field goal, but they won. I really thought this time around going up against they were playing the Browns. That's right, the Raiders and the Browns got moved. I really thought going up against a second, possibly a third-string quarterback, they would have really put it on them, per se, and just didn't. So I think you're going to see a total overhaul of this team in the offseason. Maybe even Mike Mayock being gone. I would not be surprised to see that happen. I mean, him and Gruden together made some questionable draft picks. It just happens that this past draft kind of worked out, and now with Gruden gone because of all that controversy, there's no one else to point the blame other than the GM. So I would not be surprised if there's a total overhaul this offseason with that team. So as far as this upcoming week's picks, and to give a little update, I'm 23-15 on the season with my blue picks. My blowout pick for this week, I'm going with the Packers again over the Browns. Packers are given 7. You can't deny it. Aaron Rodgers obviously is playing like an MVP quarterback. The talk is that it's basically down to Rodgers and Brady. But the one name I do want to throw in there, it's kind of a little side note here, is Jonathan Taylor from the Colts, the running back. He better get some consideration because he's been playing lights out these past few weeks. But as far as the pick, obviously against the Raiders, you've seen Browns offense still struggling. You look at their last 5 games, they're only getting 15, 17 points a game, and you're not going to win much, let alone going up against Aaron Rodgers and try to win that way. So I think the Packers are just going to blow them out. Not only win by 10 or more, I could even see another 15 spot for the Packers. My lock pick is I'm going with the Tampa Bay Bucks, who are giving Carolina 11. The Buccaneers just got embarrassed. Tom Brady just got embarrassed by the Saints. And I think this team is going to come out pissed off. If they were going up against the Packers, I still think they would win. They're going up against Cam Newton and Carolina. This game is going to get ugly, and I think it could get ugly quick. It's just going to be bad. I mean, I could have put this one as my blowout pick, but this is more definitely what's going to happen. They're going to blow them out. And then for my upset pick, there's only 1 or 2 games that really stood out to me that could be the upset pick. I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I'm going with the Giants over Philly. Yes, I am going against my team. Giants are getting 10 points, but I'm telling you, only having 4 days to practice, to rest up, to heal, that's asking a lot from your players. And I just can't see anything good coming out of this game. I think the Giants sweep us, get the upset. The only possible way Philly could salvage this game is just getting that running game going. If Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders can stay healthy this whole game and just keep doing what they've been doing, they may be able to pull this off. But I don't have much confidence in this game. And the thing is, if the Giants win this game, the King James belt stays with King in Dirty Jersey. He already has the King James Cup since the Devils beat the Flyers multiple times this season. I don't want to see that the belt stay there. So, I mean, I'm hoping Philly wins, but I don't have high hopes. So, to kind of review my picks, my blowout pick, I have Packers over the Browns. My lock pick, Buccaneers absolutely destroying Carolina. And then Giants upsetting Philly this weekend. That's my picks. I think that's going to be it for this week. Make sure you guys head over to staytunesports.net for all of our merchandise, social media accounts. Make sure you're following Twitter and Facebook, so that way if I'm live tweeting some of these games Saturday night, we could interact there. Head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/stsports. Show your support that way. Make sure you leave some reviews on our iTunes as well. That's a good way to show your support. But till next week, this is your good friend Jimbo. Oh, and make sure all you guys have a nice, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, however you want to say it. If you're drinking, please drink responsibly. Get an Uber, get a Lyft. Call your parents to pick you up. There's no shame in that. So, till next week, it's your good friend Jimbo, signing out.